Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. This is going to be interesting. It's a little bit out of the normal breakdown sandbox, but it's not. We had a conversation with Dr. Bratt this last week, and he talked about how this is an Alberta politics story, and I like to listen to smart people, so that's what we're doing today. Plus, a bunch of you asked for it, so we're gonna get right into it. It's also going to be a little different because I have deliberately kept some blinders on because I really want to see how this person tells their story and they interview and they introduce themselves. So, all of that being said, there's this little by-election that's going to be going on at the federal level. It was very hard for me to choose a shirt today because we're doing federal politics as another little one of our side quests. Very excited to welcome to the show one of the candidates in that by-election, Bonnie Critchley. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Before we get into the by-election, the politics, the Polyev, all of that stuff, I want to start with sort of the broad ideas, the broad questions, and I'm gonna give you the wide question, and then I'll
Mhm.
focus in a little bit. But who is Bonnie Critchley?
Oh, you're not going to ask me why I'm running first.
No, we're gonna take a step back first.
Excellent. All right. I sorry, excuse me. It is early morning.
It is.
That's all I'm going to say. Um, I am a 22-year veteran. Born in Calgary. Well, born in Kelowna. Technically, we lived in Calgary at the time. But I'm also a fifth generation military, and Dad was on maneuvers when I was born, so Mom went home to her family. We've definitely an Alberta-based family. Dad was based in the Harvey Barracks in Calgary with the Lord Strathcona's horse, and we moved to Cornwallis and then back to Calgary and then to Gagetown and then back to Calgary, and then they closed the base in Calgary, so we moved to Medicine Hat where I went to high school. I did a year of university at Calgary. Wasn't for me. Continued with I joined the Army in high school and continued to do that, and eventually went to college in Lethbridge. I served in Calgary for 22 years, and both of us retired here in Alberta. So we're a very, very Alberta-based family. And when Dad retired, he bought some property, and now we breed and raise horses.
Okay, give me a bit to work with there. What did you do in the army?
I was an armored reconnaissance crewman. I'm not sure what they call it now. Something politically correct, I'm sure. Um, I was armored initially, drove very large armored vehicles, not tanks, just the Cougar, just a little 76 millimeter pumpkin launcher with 12-ton, six wheels, just a little Cougar. And then when they retired those, they re-rolled us to reconnaissance. And then I started driving the Iltis and G-Wagon until they replaced those with the Tap V.
The Iltis is a fairly famous little vehicle. I know there's lots of people who like try to get one of their own to tool around town. And do you have one?
No, you don't. You need three, two for parts and one to run.
There we go. 22-year veteran with reconnaissance, and the horses I want to talk about. So you race horses?
We raise horses. We don't race them.
Okay.
We raise Canadians. It's an actual breed. It's Canada's national breed. It's a heritage breed.
Okay.
And they're kind of do all everything horses that are endangered with less than 5,000 left registered in the world.
Okay. Are you a cat or a dog person?
Yes.
Oh, that's a political answer, that is.
um, I had to kick Brutus out of my seat in order to be able to sit here, and he's the cat. And the dog, well, I don't want him to knock over the camera because he's a Great Dane. So,
Oh, those are lovely.
yeah. I
I,
mean, I
I
can yell for him a little later if you want, but he might knock the camera over. That's all I'm going to say.
oh, I got a soft spot in my heart for Great Danes. Let's get into the politics. Prior to this by-election, what's your political background? Have you run for political office? Have you been a political organizer? Have you been a member of a party?
The answer is no. I am politics for the most part these days just disgusts me. It's that team politics thing I'm always on about. It's your team versus my team, whether you're right or left. The cons need to own the libs and vice versa, and guys are voting against their own best interest just so they can own the other team. And for the most part, stepping back because that's just gross to me wasn't working. So when it landed in my backyard, that's when I'm like, okay, well, stepping back isn't working, so let's try stepping up.
I like that's a good turn of phrase you got there. What made you make the decision? I mean, it's a weird situation. Pierre Poilievre was in many polls considered to be the favorite, and then the Liberals did the we're going to go with this new guy here, and that revitalized that party. Pierre Poilievre lost his seat, and I know you have some thoughts on what happened there. We're going to get into that for sure. But the by-election, he needs a safe riding. He picks the most, arguably the safest conservative riding in Canada. The gentleman who's been representing that area steps out, gets a nice gig that has raised some eyebrows for a long list of reasons. What made you go, yeah, you know what? Now's the time.
Well, like I said, it was that realization that stepping back wasn't going to work, and things were just going to continue to degrade with this team politics stuff. We had a representative we were happy with, who we knew showed up, who he was here. He opened things. He presented King's coronation medals. He showed up at events. He attended. He listened to people, and I know for a fact that Monsieur Poilievre is not going to do that. And like I said, I realized because you can't keep doing the same thing you're doing and expecting different results. Just you can't. So stepping back wasn't working. So I tried stepping up.
Where do you describe yourself? I mean, and this is going to be. I'm really looking forward to your answer to this. To be honest with you, on the political spectrum, I mean, it has been pointed out by no shortage of people that the major parties are running candidates. You're running as an independent, and that, given the polarized nature of politics today, um, what does it mean to be an independent? Are you like independent as in there's an independence thing that's happening in the province of Alberta right now.
Mhm.
So like define that for me if you could.
Independent means no party. My definition is a nonpartisan centrist with right leanings.
Okay.
Um, because again, I firmly believe that the team politics stuff coming up from the US is not reflective of Canadian politics. That is not how Canadian politics work. But we're being pushed into this by what's coming up from the leak over from our southern border. So independent means no party bosses. I don't talk. The only people I answer to are the constituents here, not to party bosses in Ottawa who expect me to vote against my constituents' best interests just because it's a chance to own the libs, kind of a thing.
Okay. So I'm guessing um from the it seems like you're not a fan of the US politics. I'm guessing you're not one of the 51st staters.
No, no. There is a tattoo on my chest I got the day after I came out of Afghanistan of a maple leaf. I've buried far too many people, friends, underneath a Canadian flag to ever be a separatist. As for a 51st stater, no, I will be one of the first ones to step up and take my place in the line should they try to come north or try to take us from within.
Excellent answer. I got one of those tattoos myself. I cannot make the same claim to the backstory, but I appreciate the sentiment. Um, Let's talk about some of the issues. So one of the things that's been fascinating with the federal politics realm is Mark Carney ran as a liberal. He's the leader of the Liberal Party. It seems like maybe he's less um, progressive than perhaps his predecessor was. Uh, what do you make of the federal landscape right now?
Well, I'm on record as calling him a progressive conservative in a liberal suit because that is he is taken us back to what the progressive conservatives were. That is where the progressive conservatives were on the spectrum before the Reform Party and all that extra stuff.
You think that's a good thing?
I think the vast majority of Canadians are centrist. I don't think that the vast majority of Canadians are on either wing. And most of us do realize that we have to work together in order. The left wing and the right wing need to flap together if the bird isn't to hit the dang mountain.
What do you make of like running as an independent? There's a fascinating dynamic that goes on with the current government because it's just like a single digits, I believe, of seats that make the difference. Three, there we go, that make the difference between how successful this government is and how successful this government isn't. If you were to win, that would take a seat away from the conservative government, the opposition, and it would not give one to the liberals. That seems to leave a not insignificant balance of power in the hands of Battle River Crowfoot. Am I wrong? Is this something that you put to?
No, no, you're exactly right. I mean, I hear all the time independents can't say anything in Parliament. And in a majority government, yeah, that'd be true. This isn't a majority government. This is an extremely close minority government that makes me a swing vote. So if Mr. Carney posts, say, increase defense spending on a bill, all right, I can look at supporting that bill, but you need to do this one that's going to help agricultural innovation and bring the rights back to farmers in Battle River Crowfoot and the rest of the country. But this one is specifically something that Battle River Crowfoot has told me needs to happen.
What are the issues that Battle River Crowfoot is most passionate about? And I recognize I don't want to oversimplify because there is that tendency to be like, rural Alberta, they just care about two or three things, and I don't think that that's true at all. But what are the biggest issues that you're hearing about from the constituents of Battle River Crowfoot?
Well, one of them is that agricultural innovation one, because research has been taken from the federal government and given to corporations. And now we have farmers who are paying royalties on seed. Or if their neighbor's seed blows over and grows, they're being charged for it financially or sued. Right? This increases our food production costs. And if our food production costs are high, where does that leave everything else? Then, of course, there's the right to repair legislation, which covers both urban and rural within Battle River Crowfoot, because we do have cities, we do have towns. We have folks who aren't 2 hours away from the nearest major center, but if their dishwasher breaks and it's 20-cent plastic piece, the brand name will still charge the tech and everybody else more than a cost of a new dishwasher to repair it. So we're looking at the forced obsolescence of things. It's a 20-cent molded plastic piece, and the tech has to charge more than a new dishwasher in order to fix it. And that's if there folks who are living within an hour or two of the nearest urban center. If they're not, no tech is going out there. And the companies are not going to ship them that 20-cent piece. They got to go get a new dishwasher. So again, cost of living starts creeping up. So it's those things, and then the firearms legislation is a problem. Not only is it a cause harm to farmers and ranchers, it's also harming sport within Canada. I mean, if our biathletes can't get appropriate rifles and whatnot because of the haphazard slapdash way that the Trudeau era firearms regulations were applied, we have a problem. Now, I'm not saying Second Amendment, that's US crap. Firearm ownership is a privilege, not a right. And I like having to take lessons, having to get your license, having the waiting period. If you're convicted of domestic abuse, having firearms bans. The firearm violence we're seeing isn't from the legal gun owners. There's already laws on the books that people are breaking to do this firearm violence. So penalizing firearm owners is not appropriate. I mean, we just sent a shooter to Worlds without anything to shoot. He had no pistol.
Do we actually?
Yes. I'll see if I can find it for you.
Yeah, please. I wanna explore that a little bit because that is a highly contentious issue. It's a highly polarized issue, and I think
Yes,
that
it
you
is.
you parsed a little bit in there that I think is really really important because I think that there's some cultural problems within firearms ownership that aren't very well explored. And by way of context, I mentioned this earlier. I grew up in northern Alberta, and for a lot of ranchers, for a lot of farmers, a firearm is a necessary tool because not only is it something that you're going to use to protect your livelihood, but it's also sometimes, unfortunately, a tool that you have to use to manage your livelihood. I'm trying to be a little bit oblique, but that's the reality when there's really unfortunate circumstances.
I mean,
That
the example I use is I've stood in my pasture, mare foaling out, watching the coyotes on the other side of the fence.
yeah.
And I
Uh,
don't have neighbors on the other side of the fence. I have there's no neighbors over there for miles.
and that I think is one of the pieces that a lot of people don't understand. But then you go to the extreme, and then there's people who want, and I'm going to try to choose my words carefully here, the military style. And to me, that there's two pieces, like a caliber of a firearm that is not a fully automatic weapon is going to be, it doesn't matter what it looks like. But I do think that there is a nuanced conversation to have about like the people who want to have on their 22 caliber rifle, they want to have the scopes and the red dot sights and the under the barrel flashlights and all of that. Like at a certain point, I don't think that you're looking to protect your livestock anymore. I think maybe you have some insecurities that you might be manifesting. But what are your thoughts on that? Like how do you parse the difference between people who are using firearms responsibly and as tools and people who are like the folks we saw down at the Coots Crossing who were very, very clearly looking to hunt something other than coyotes?
Well, there's already laws on the books that deal with that, right? There is already laws on the books. We don't need to ban purchase of that firearm because of a bucking horse caught a saddle horn, shoved arm bones through wrist bones, tore some ligaments. I can't handle a stock grip because my ulna doesn't connect to my wrist anymore. I need a pistol grip. And that's because of damage to my wrist from a bucking horse, which is so typical Albertan. It hurts, but so does my wrist. So I want a pistol grip on my rifle. But that's banned. But a rifle with the exact same specifications, just a stock grip, isn't banned. And it's all about perception. As for the gentleman down at Coots, well, there's already laws on the books about that. They just need to be enforced. We don't need extra laws. Just enforce the ones we have.
To me, that's an eminently reasonable answer. And I don't know that banning airsoft is the thing that's going to be solving the problems that we're having in regards to firearms. What are the other issues that you're hearing about? Like, I can't imagine that the folks of Battle River Crowfoot are super thrilled about the fact that they just elected somebody, and that somebody is now landed a consulting gig, which I still have questions about the legality of. And now Pierre Poilievre, who would live in Eastern Canada anyways, is saying, I would like to represent you. What is the reaction from people that you're talking to there? Because I think it's pretty clear what your reaction is.
It turns out my neighbors are pissed. right? When I started this, my goal was to take as many votes from Monsieur Poilievre to make a statement. Just take as many votes as I could. That was my goal. It turns out when I started door knocking, more people than I thought were choked. A lot of people are upset. He definitely has his fans here. Don't get me wrong. Remember where I said we have very right, very left types, but the bulk of us are centrist. And it turns out that a large chunk of that bulk who vote conservative voted for Damien, not for the party. And he sold us out. And it is razor thin, the legalities, but I think they've pulled off that it's legal because they've worded it just so.
In my experience and in my memory, from when I lived in rural Alberta, which was granted quite some time ago, that's the kind of I'll choose my language here carefully, tomfoolery. That I think you can probably guess what word I wanted to use there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of tomfoolery that does not land well because it suggests there's this perception of rural Alberta that oh, they're simple folk. We can just pull the wool right over their eyes, and that is not my memory of rural Alberta at all. Thoughts?
We might like things a little quieter, but that doesn't mean we're stupid. I mean, rush hour is getting stuck behind a tractor on the highway. And you know what? I've been in Calgary. I've been in Toronto. Um, I've been in London. I've been in Berlin. I've been in all these places. Been in Paris. I'm quite content to be stuck behind a tractor on Highway 14 or Highway 41 or Highway 21, Highway 53. I'm more content to get stuck behind a tractor or some farmer moving his cattle across the highway because the highway cuts through his fields than I am to sit there in the smoke and the smog and the crap that's in the cities. I've been to all these cities. I'm also bilingual French. Not particular, yeah, not my grammar, my vocabulary have slipped from lack of use, but I am bilingual French, right? We are not stupid. We just don't like the noise or the crowding. I mean, I think it's great that I live in town now, sort of. I miss the farm, but at least I can get pizza delivered. Can't get pizza delivered out to the farm. Got to go get it yourself.
Are people pushing back against that sort of, um, well, we can do what we want and they'll just vote for us anyways?
Oh yes. Um, people are definitely starting to. I'm not going to say wake up. That's not the right words or connotation I want to use. People are becoming very aware of just how much we're going to be used by this one individual, and I'll call him Monsieur Poilievre, sorry, Monsieur Poilievre, because it's rude to dead name people, and if he wants to change his name from where he went to high school in Calgary to be a Frenchman out of Ottawa, it's rude to dead name people. So Monsieur Poilievre it is.
I love, I mean, right now, there are people who are going to be like, wait, 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 wait. There's a rural Albertan who's throwing out dead naming. What's happening here? So I love that you just dropped that in there. I want to talk about some of the issues that are specific to Alberta that are directly related to the conversation around confederation, if that's okay with you. Uh,
Before I got one more point before we go there, but keep that in mind. Alberta Confederation check. Um, I read news reports that apparently one of the other candidates was getting death threats or something, and that made national news. And I just got to say that that's just gross. Yes, people are angry, but um, trying to pigeonhole us for national news attention was just gross to me. Yes, people are choked. People are angry. People are tired. We don't want to do this. election crap again. We just had one and we picked the guy we wanted. But to go to national news and claim death threats is okay. That's no, that pigeonholes Alberta. And that's not what I'm seeing out there. I've been all over the riding, and yes, people are angry. Yes, people believe in Monsieur Poiliev, and they would rather I got off their porch. But that's every time is a smile and a handshake. All right, no, all right, cool. You want to believe that? That's cool, man. You do you. You vote for the guy who talks to you. You have a great day, and a handshake and a smile. So this attempt to grab national headlines while pigeonholing Albertans as again the dumb angry rednecks is just gross to me.
I was unaware. Like I said, I've kept myself somewhat
No, that's fair, man.
in the
That's
dark so we can
fair.
have this conversation from
It
a good
came out
place.
last night, so
Okay.
it just yeah, it came out last night, and I'm like, that's no, because again, that paints Albertans back into that angry dumb redneck box, and that's not where I and my neighbors sit.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, I'd like to think it goes without saying that the death threats are also gross.
Yeah, I mean, yes, people send me angry messages all the time. Monsieur Poiliev has almost a cult following. All right, cool. People have thrown garbage at me in uniform. It's not my first rodeo of people being mad at me for just existing. I'm gonna keep doing my thing.
Wow. I gotta say, visceral reaction over here, hearing some you say that people have thrown garbage at you in uniform. That just uh I, that's unacceptable. Uh
That's just the way things are sometimes. People get mad and they go after the visible things that represent what they think they're angry at.
that's a very generous interpretation. Um I don't know that I would have the same uh, grace if I saw somebody throwing garbage at one of our uniformed members. But moving on, there is this whole conversation that is being um, facilitated, is the word that I will use. Uh,
Sure, they're very politic.
yeah. Um, in regards to Alberta's relationship with Confederation. And I would love to get, I mean, you're in a fascinating position because on one hand, you're running for federal politics. On the other hand, Alberta is Alberta-ing to some degree. Elements of Alberta are Alberta-ing, I'll say. And it is creating a very fascinating dynamic on the federal level. And I would love to hear your thoughts on some of those issues because if you are the successful candidate, these are issues that are going to definitely be crossing your desk. So like broadly speaking, thoughts on the Alberta Next panel.
I'm going to be very blunt. Danielle Smith is a traitor and she's selling us out. And that is pure propaganda and it is leveraged, absolutely leveraged to say exactly what she wants it to say. Now, I'm an old soldier. Remember when I said threats from within? She is literally selling off our health care to her buddies. I'll have to come up with, I think it was the Covenant Health System, something of that nature. I'd have to come up with the exact name. I don't recall it off the top of my head. But yeah, she's selling it, and it's a former minister of hers who runs it.
Okay.
So, as for Albertans, but the thing is Albertans do have legitimate beef with Ottawa. Um, Now, I'm not necessarily saying it's the transfer payments or anything of that nature because I understand how the transfer payments work. That's an income tax thing. And that's how income tax from across the country is all gathered in Ottawa and then it's broken down and sent out. So I'm not talking transfer payments, but I am talking Trudeau Sr. flipping the bird at Alberta as he rolls out in the train. I'm talking wheat board and constantly being used. I'm talking Trudeau Jr. making fun of Alberta on a Quebec radio station in French. Il y a des Albertains qui peuvent parler en français. There are Albertans who can speak in French. So, like I said, my accent is horrible. I know I haven't had a lot of practice of late. I'll work on that. Which I have to, because it turns out there is a large Métis population in Alberta. So, I mean, Beaumont is just outside the riding boundaries. So Beaumont isn't within my riding, but it is a Métis town just south of Edmonton. And there's Métis all throughout the area. They don't necessarily identify as First Nations when you look at the census. So French is actually an important thing, despite what everybody has to say about it. But anyways, I'm getting sidebarred. Alberta has legitimate beef with Ontario, Ottawa. We all know that the election is done when it hits the western border of Ottawa. So I am trying to come up with platform points on election reform. I'm not one to talk about what I don't know, so it's not on my platform yet, because I'm still trying to understand how that would work. I am making conversations and phone calls in all of my free time while campaigning around this 52,000 square kilometer riding. But no, Alberta has legitimate beef and people are choked. Mr. Carney's got a lot of work, and I am seeing some work and some conciliatory gestures towards Alberta, which are being all downplayed and whatnot by our current provincial government, who is literally trying to sell us out. So we'll see what happens from there, because I do understand. I will never separate. I will never accept separation, but I understand why people are upset. Separation is not a good answer, so let's find a good answer.
Do you think super curious? Boy, you piqued my interest there. I'm super curious. Do you think that some of the grievance manufacturing that we're seeing with the Alberta Next panel actually hurts the bargaining position of the legitimate grievances? Because I agree with you 100%. There's conversations to be had. Equalization, very misunderstood, poorly understood program. But there are some legitimate grievances to be had with how some of the provinces, maybe a little bit of
The
Quebec.
formulas.
Yeah, the formulas for sure. But when we have a program like this Alberta Next panel where we're talking about things like withholding social services from new Canadians, when we're talking about um, separatism, when we're talking about an Alberta pension plan, all of these things they almost feel like straw men, and they take away from, for me at least, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, they take away from the very real problems and the very real, at times, disrespect that has been directed towards Alberta. Do you think that's a what are your thoughts on that?
Look over here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
That's some straight up Bill Hicks that you're borderline throwing down there. Um, yeah, okay. Um, I'm gonna go through the list. Alberta pension plan, yay or nay?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, cool. Um, what are the issues that you're passionate for? I mean, you talked about agriculture, you talked about the right to repair. I get the very strong sense that maybe your dishwasher broke down recently. Um,
Some
but
years ago, but yeah, but that wasn't actually initially on my platform until I was talking to people.
okay,
So what I'm passionate about is Battle River Crowfoot keeping a voice in Parliament. If there had been another candidate who ran a good, successful campaign, I could have stepped down, because honestly, I don't want to do this. I want to do this about as much as I wanted to go to Afghanistan and get shot at every day, right? This is something isn't right. Somebody needs to do something about it. And I'm never one to wait for someone to come rescue me. But if someone else had run a good, solid campaign, cool, you run, I'll support. So my passion is a voice for Battle River Crowfoot in Parliament. If that's my voice, cool. But the words are going to come from my neighbors.
Would you describe, I mean, I know you said center right, centrist.
Mhm.
I mean, one of the fun things in Alberta about the word centrist is that it's poorly defined. It allows for some ambiguity. Would you historically describe yourself as a conservative voter?
I tend to vote for the guy I think is going to do the best job for us in Parliament, in the legislature, in the municipal county. I hate team politics. I do. I guess you could say I'm passionate about that. I hate team politics. It's voting for the team instead of the guy who's going to do his best job for you is not a smart move. So that's when I say I'm centrist. I mean, I'm centrist. Yes, the Liberals have some good ideas. They've got some really stupid ideas, like Trudeau Jr. telling a vet, the veterans are asking more for than Canada can afford. Well, the man standing in front of him is on prosthetics. So the Liberals have some good ideas. Liberals have some stupid ideas. Cons have some good ideas. Cons have some stupid ideas. And you'll find my references are very veteran related because I spent a lot of time in the last years of my career and since working with assorted veterans and first responders programs to make up for the slack in Veterans Affairs that both the Conservatives and the Liberals have cut. Both have cut to the bone. Both give mouthpiece action and then stick us in the back every time. Doesn't matter the party.
There's a lot of politicians that are very, very good at posing for photos at Remembrance Day, and then the other 364 days of the year forgetting about the people who serve our country in that capacity. I'm guessing that you would support increased spending on both the military and I separate these two things because there's active service and then there's the veterans. Uh,
Yes.
I suspect you would support increased spending for both of those.
Personally, yes. And as a riding, yes, because we have CFB Wainwright within this riding. And we are just north of CFB Suffield. We have no reserve units in this area. They are all just outside the borders. But there is a lot of military here. There's a lot of military families here. A lot of guys retire when they come out and do exactly what my father did. They go find a piece of land where it's a little quieter and retire. So absolutely, I will. But again, that's my personal one and what the riding says, because it's important to me that the riding has the voice. It might be my voice, but it's not my words.
What is, like I personally I'm going to use my words, but like the way that we treat veterans in Canada is not stellar, is my impression. I'm not a veteran. I have some family who served a couple of generations ago, so I have no direct experience speaking to that. But what are the things that what are the, if you know, pick three, what are the biggest things that you'd like to see fixed with that program?
More people within Veterans Affairs, because I am still dealing with claims from 2022 on my ankles, my knees, and my lower back. My knee just got approved. But it's just all the cuts to the bone, the closure of offices, the cutting of staff. If Mr. Carney wants to increase our defense spending, fantastic, but make sure it covers the back end too, because you're going to get guys like me saying, "Don't join. If you get hurt, you're done, and the fight for it is going to take forever." So
Okay.
if I mean, that's my one bit of advice to Mr. Carney is if he wants to increase the defense spending, fantastic. I'd like to know where the money's coming from, but that's a side note. You have to increase your Veterans Affairs spending too, because you have to look after the guys, men and women, on the other side. Or you've got people like me saying, "Don't join. It's not worth it. You get hurt, the government's going to screw you."
I'm curious, if you're elected, And I mean, it certainly has gone. It seems like the narrative has gone from um, Bonnie Critchley is somebody who is a protest candidate to, I mean, I'm seeing more and more headlines of like, oh no, there's something here. Uh, Polyev may not be as safe as he thought he was. Um, would you stay as an independent for your entire term? Would you consider joining with the CPC? Would you consider joining with the Liberals, or would it be important for you to preserve that independence so that you can take those ideas from either sides and support the things that you want to support?
There will independent. There will be no crossing in either direction unless I am directed to do so by the majority of the riding.
Would you have like a little writing referendum?
Referendum, poll, go knock on everybody's door and flip and ask if I have to. Because yes, I will have to be in Ottawa for times. I'll figure out a rental, preferably somewhere near a barn so I can ride horses. Um, without a death grip on the saddle horn, because saddle horns are dangerous. I won't be able to haul my horse over, so I'll have to find one out there. But that's only temporary. Parliament sits, what is it, 126 days out of the year? And it's only for a few weeks at a time. The rest of the time I need to be here at home talking with people. So if I have to go to every door in the riding and say, okay, where would you like me to stand now? Then I will, because it's important that we get a voice.
Do you have the impression that Mr. Polyev would spend much time in Battle River, Crowfoot?
He didn't spend much time in Carleton, and that was what, a half-hour drive across the city? Um, I am having lifelong conservatives write me some fairly eloquent letters from Carleton. Oh, yes, Carleton conservatives. Not just, I'm a liberal and I'm glad he's gone. It's, I voted for him for 2 decades. And as soon as he got the idea that he might be PM, he was gone. He was never there. And the fact is, the matter is he was in BC, what was it, last week? He was in Calgary the week before. He couldn't be bothered. We're over 3,000 kilometers west. I don't see him getting on a plane. Not at all.
I just want to confirm that because that's bonkers to me. You're getting letters from conservatives from his old riding
Yes,
expressing frustration.
they have reached out to me and to my team because I'm on the road so much, right? So my team has taken most of the letters and whatnot because I'm not letting anybody else drive my truck. That's just not going to happen. And yes, lifelong conservatives. I voted for him for 20 years. And as soon as he got the idea he might be PM, he was gone. He never showed up. He was never there. And he lived in the same flippin' city.
That's not nothing. Um, I want to give you, I mean, I have one more question that I want to ask, which is super hard hitting. But I also want to give you the space to talk about any of the other things that you'd like people to hear. So before I fire in my hard hitting question, what are the things that you want people to hear? And it's interesting because I think that one of the things that was very interesting about this conversation to me is as a product myself of both urban and rural, the disconnect that exists between those two demographics is bonkers. The way that a lot of people in urban Alberta look down at the rural folks is a constant source of frustration to me, and the way that the a lot of the rural folks interpret the intentions of a lot of urban folks is also a frustration for me. So I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts on how to address that divide as somebody who would potentially be representing both rural and urban, because there are cities in Battle River Crowfoot. But yeah, talk about that, and then talk about whatever you'd like.
Well, one of them is when I bring out my platform points like right to repair, I have my farm examples. I certain brands of tractors can be bricked by the manufacturer if you don't pay for your subscriptions or your updates. You can't even change a fuel filter, an air filter on your tractor. The certified tech has to do it. That makes no sense to the people in the urban, so that's where the dishwasher example comes in. Or if I'm talking seed, then I point out that food costs are going up because of what's going on over here. And it's not because the farmers are getting greedy. And it's being able to show everybody how much we actually do have in common. So we have a lot more in common than we think we do. But again, this divisive politicking from the US is my team versus your team is not helping in that matter either. And that's why I plan on staying an independent, unless I'm told otherwise by my constituents. But that's why I plan on staying an independent and using that leverage. Because yes, it is leverage, and I will use it to better life out here for here and the rest of the country.
You have to get a subscription for a tractor now? I'm sorry. What?
Yep, for updates and all sorts of fun things. Because all the computers in them now. All the computers, the GPS, all this stuff.
I'm
Yep.
feeling very old right now because the tractors that I remember from my childhood, boy, if somebody said you have to get a subscription to this tractor, I can only imagine how the farmers up in the Fairview area would have reacted to that.
All like it's I'm glad I don't put crops in. Driving around my dad's 60-year-old Massey Ferguson with the harrow on the back or clean hauling hay bales over. I love that thing. It's all hydraulics and mechanics. Dad and I can get in there and we can fix it up, do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that's tractor subscriptions. Wow.
Yep. And you can't even change your own air filter. You have to have a tech come out.
For real. That's
For real.
bonkers. That's
Isn't even that's why food costs, one of the reasons food costs are going up.
that's insane. Why are people talking about that more?
Because we're all a bunch of dumb redneck hicks. Who's going to listen to us?
I'm listening now because that's the you can't ask it. Telling a farmer that they can't change their own air filter, that is like if for anybody who's
Mhm.
listening to this who understands anything about rural Alberta, like I wouldn't want to be the person delivering that message face to face is all I'm saying. That's wild. Wow. Thank you for that. Um, I'm gonna be tripping on that all day.
And like I said, there's a reason people are so angry out here. And it's they don't know how to fix what's going on, how to stop this being taken advantage of. But doing the same thing we've always done is not going to change it.
I gotta ask. I know we talked about your pin beforehand, which is a maple leaf with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
poppies.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
here we go.
what's the necklace?
It's Mjolnir. I do historical Thor's hammer.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do historical reenactment. I strap on 100 pounds of armor and go hit my friends with a sword for stress relief. Just to be fair, they're hitting me back. I do have a few bruises from the Vegreville Medieval Fair still.
That is, boy, how did we just get to that at the end?
Well, you didn't ask.
Right? I guess not.
It's
Do you
it's
actually
not something I've hidden.
no? Do you actually have like a Mjolnir and does it come when you call it?
No, no. Though I prefer an axe over my sword because of the damage to my wrist. But that's just me.
Okay. That's that's a delightful little curveball. I'm so glad I asked. Um, unless I'm mistaken, the by-election is August 18th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. For anybody who is in and to my shock, I do have listeners and viewers in the Battle River Crowfoot area. For anybody who wants to learn more about you, more about your campaign, where do they go?
Uh, they can go to www.bonniecritchleyindependent.com. Now, that being said, with the longest ballot becoming a problem here in Battle River Crowfoot, people can go directly to the returning officer's office, and that's in Duggan Mall in Camrose. And you can vote by special ballot now. Special ballot means you write the name of a candidate whose name you think is going to get on the ballot. So you're not dealing with that unwieldy, god-awful mess that's just going to cause so much headache for everybody.
And that's a like I want to ask you about that real quick before I let you go because that's a fascinating. I get the protest element, and I come from a background of disruption, so I can understand.
Disruption. That very, very carefully worded. Well done.
Thank you. Um, and I can understand that in a an urban center. I can understand sort of the satire that's being played out there. I'm fascinated that the same tactics would be deployed again in a environment that is such a big mix of rural and urban because that is the kind of tomfoolery, as I choose my words carefully again, that a lot of people will find just straight up disrespectful.
Absolutely. My neighbors are furious.
Yeah. And it
They
seems
are
like a small
furious.
thing, but it is disrespectful to a lot of people in the process when there is that community connection. Am I right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to bury me as an independent candidate. There is no way to differentiate me from the protest candidates. It all says independent under all of our names. It doesn't say a party name. And it's extremely foolish to me because if they're protesting for electoral reform and not protesting Monsieur Poilievre, which is what they're saying, but their actions aren't matching their words right now. But that's a whole other thing. Um, the 45th Canadian general election, this one we just had, was the first election where you did not have to pay an administrative fee to get on the ballot. So immediately they're abusing the latest electoral reforms. And because I, as an independent, am going to be absolutely buried in other independent candidates, I am not going to stand out in any way from them unless you know the exact spelling of my name. They are pushing us deeper into a party system, which is also problematic. All they're doing is adding fuel to the fire of people being upset and done. They are not doing anything constructive in this point, at this point. And
Yeah.
all they've done is piss off my neighbors.
Yeah. Again, that's in the that is not a t there's elements of that that are in the you can't change your air filter that I cannot see landing well with a lot of folks. So um thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Is there anything else you want people to hear? Is there anything else you want to say?
No, the only thing I ask is try to remember my name if you're interested in voting for me. But the biggest takeaway has to be vote for the person who speaks to you, not the party. You can, I mean, if you absolutely need Monsieur Poilievre to be defeated, I'm the strategic vote. But I would far rather people vote for me because they believe in what I'm saying and I'm speaking to what they need, not because of party lines.
Excellent line to end on. I'm just curious before I let you go, has any other interview gotten to the historical battle recreation stuff?
One, I think, one or
Oh,
two.
I was gonna
Yeah.
call the scoop.
Well, yeah. Um, it's because I've been asked about Mjolnir before, because a lot of white supremacists are trying to take
Oh,
Viking symbols. So I tend to get asked about it a lot because I don't intend on letting white supremacists take, especially since Scandinavian history doesn't support their narrative.
I'm gonna go out on a limb just for absolute clarity and go, you're not a white supremacist.
No, I'm not.
Okay, good.
Really,
Because
really not.
if we'd buried that lead to the end, holy hell, my audience would have killed me. Bonnie, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the by-election on August 18th.
All right, excellent. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Nate.
Thank you. And that's it for another episode of The Breakdown. As always, if you appreciate the kind of content that we're trying to produce here, we would love nothing more than if you thought about signing up to be one of our Patreon sponsors at www.patreon.com/thebreakdownab, where for just the price of a fancy cup of coffee a month, you can help us continue to produce this kind of content. Whether you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, in which case, maybe leave a review and a rating, or whether you're watching it on one of our streaming platforms, we want to say a big thank you to everybody who is part of the Breakdown's audience. And as always, take care of each other and keep the conversation going.